Let me get this on speaker view and pin my screen so that when we live on YouTube, let me make sure. I think we're good now. We are. Hello and happy Monday, everyone. All right, so Grace, I'm going to make you a co-host. If you would let people in the room. Tedra, I'm going to make you a co-host. Melissa, I'm going to make you a co-host so that you all can let people in the room as they are logging in. All right, we're going to get right down to it. Listen, on Mondays, all roads lead to book club, right? And book club is so important, right? Personal growth and development is so important. And there are some reasons that it's so important. One, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. And so every single Monday that I'm not traveling, I am here to fill your cup. And then book club is so important because leaders are readers. And if we desire to lead in any capacity in our lives, right, then book club is important. Personal growth and development is important. And then community is important. I need to add that one in there. But we're also never going to earn more than we learn. We're never going to earn more than we learn. So thank you, ladies, for making sure that you are letting everybody in the room. I appreciate you all. We actually had a chance to meet BP Smooth. Hopefully he'll jump on here. He actually came to our meeting in Charlotte. It was so cool to be able to meet him after he's on book club with us every single Monday. He's one of the lone men that are left, right? I don't know where all the other men went. Sean used to be with us on Mondays. We don't know where he's at, but we do have BP, and BP normally gets on. No taker. No, we cannot. Okay. All right, y'all. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We have been reading Born Rich. What's up, Pastor Sean up in New York? Born Rich, this book is so phenomenal, right? And I know that all of our books are phenomenal, but I believe that every time we're reading, that it's specifically for that time in our lives. And I believe that this book is for such a time as this. The author is Bob Proctor. This is a modern classic. And what I love about Born Rich is helping us to understand that there's nothing that we're looking for externally. Everything that we need is already inside of us. And what this book is teaching us is how to rearrange the things that are in our lives, oftentimes that they're out of place. And that's what I love about Born Rich. So when we ended Born Rich, because we're going to start chapter 8, which is the razor's edge. When we ended Born Rich, we went through 8 steps to achieving big goals. And I'm going to read those before we actually start chapter 8. And one was write out your ambition in as much detail as possible and in the present tense. And I'm going to tell you that is so important. I've been hosting a lot of virtual conferences recently, and every one of the trainers are saying that people don't hit goals because they won't write them down. They're not specific about what they want. And like in a lot of detail, like women used to be like, God, just send me a man. I just don't want to be alone. Send me a man. Well, he'll do just that. He will send you a man. He probably ain't gonna have no teeth. He gonna probably be dragging a leg, winking an eye, right? Because we're not specific about what we ask for. Lord, send me a God fearing man. Send me a man who's going to love you more than me. Send me a man that's decisive. Send me a man that's not lazy. Send me a man that loves your word. Send me a man that can lead. Y'all understand what I'm saying? See, we ain't asked them questions. We were like, God, I don't want to be alone. Send me a man. Uh-oh. I know, it's okay. I know, Nina, everybody just look straight. Just look straight. No, I want him to have all his teeth. I want him to have his faculties. I want him to have longevity and health. Hello. I want him to know how to make money. Uh-oh. All right, anyway, the book says that one of the steps to achieve big goals are that we write out our ambition in as much detail as possible and in the present tense. We got to write it as if it's like what we want right now, what we're living right now, not like what we think should happen or what we're hoping to happen. Write out the words I can and yell it or sing it, right? Even if you can't sing, it doesn't matter, right? The Bible says make a joyful noise unto the Lord, right? Make a joyful noise. So This says that we should do this over and over again in relation to present tense and our ambition, and say it at least 10 times a day. How many of you got up today saying, and I'm gonna tell you, we had our leadership training with Jay today. It was really phenomenal. I can't wait to train tonight because I'm going to teach several of the reasons why, not train, but when we have our call at 8 o'clock, literally outlining the reason why we're the best of the best of the best. But he said it. How many people really want to earn $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month? Have you even written it down? Are you saying it out loud to yourself? 2, choose a friend, someone who has confidence in you and will support your ambition. A lot of people we don't realize are actually secretly fighting against us. They don't really want you to win. They don't really want you to win, which is why they call you and they start saying crazy stuff to you. They'll start calling, oh, you doing that again? Or you sure do spend a lot of time with them. Oh, you know what? You starting to sound like such and such and such. Good. You know what I realized is I want to sound just like people who making a lot of money. I do. I want to sound like them, look like them, walk like them, talk like them, eat like them. Hello? Because why would I want to be like somebody that ain't doing nothing, that ain't going nowhere, right? So 4, on a daily basis, continue to affirm yourself as a risk taker. Isn't that what we learned in the last chapter? That we are risk takers. And Lord, we willingly, joyfully jump at taking the risk. I'm going to tell you all, here come BP right now. I am going to tell you, more people fail because they won't jump. They think too long. Wealthy people make decisions quickly. The only thing I got to do now is check my calendar. I can't make it as fast as I want to because I got to make sure that the dates are open. But if the date is open, I'm there. It's not even a thought. Because wealthy people make decisions quickly. Say quickly in the comments. Say quickly in the comments. And as you're logging on, let me know what city, what state, what country you're logging in from. I see you, Ouchaluya. I see Nichelle said, Ouchaluya. I done prayed for a man. Her prayer is going to be different now. She going to be writing. It's going to be so specific, right? That when somebody come your way, you're going to be like, that ain't him. I ain't pray for him. I didn't pray for him, right? And guess what? Because the counterfeit will always come before the real. So you better believe that you got to pray for what you really want. All right. And be specific about what you really, really, really want. What's up, BP? All right. So on a daily basis, continue to affirm yourself. 5, prepare a balance sheet. We learned last chapter to prepare the balance sheet. What's the worst that can happen if we go all in? What's really the worst that can happen? And you want to make that checks and balance sheet, right? Under the minus sign, write out the very worst thing that can happen if you were to follow through, if you were to go all in. And under the plus sign, you want to write out all the good things that can happen. So I want you to think about it. What are the good things that can happen? And I promise you, the bad things that can happen, the worst thing that could happen would be what? That you could fail. And why is that such a bad thing? And right? And so 8, we're going to focus on how to make the right side of the balance sheet magnificent. Make sure that you can overcome the left side without disaster. Are we going to die if we fail? No, we're not going to die, right? And when we realize, okay, I'm not going to die, even if I fail, I'm not going to die, I'll start again. We like to control, alt, delete. I loved when I learned that feature on my computer. Control, alt, delete. It just get rid of it all, right? And I used to be scared of the computer, y'all, because I used to think I was going to break it. But nope, just control, alt, delete. Control, alt, delete. So now we're going to read The Razor's Edge. And I don't know, y'all. I think this one might get a little bit of, ooh. The Razor's Edge. Sound like some stuff going to have to get cut. Okay? This chapter says, you are only 1 inch, 1 step, 1 idea away from turning onto the boulevard of beauty in your own life. Here's the problem. That most times when people are 1 step away, 1 block away, 1 phone call away, 1 client away, 1 sale away, SALE, 1 book away, y'all know what happens? They quit. Right there when they're 3 feet from goal. You know why, Pastor Sean? Because when you're in labor, the pains get worse right before the baby about to come out. See, when the uterus or when the cervix is getting ready to get to about 9 or 10, that is when you feel like you are about to die. That is when it feels like, oh my God. And what happens is, as soon as we get right there, that is when we're like, oh my God. This starts to feel like it's too much. And we try to retract instead of bearing down and focusing on the goal and then pushing our way out. All right. So I don't know about y'all. You know, what's crazy is right now, y'all, I look back at my weeks and I'll think to myself, I don't know how I managed to get it done. And I can only tell you, I just don't think. I just don't. Maybe what I'm saying is, I just don't overthink it. It's on the calendar. Boom, I got to do it. Does this make sense to anybody? So we're only 1 inch. Everybody say 1 inch. Matter of fact, we should say it out loud. I'm 1 inch. I am one step. I'm a one idea. You got to say it out loud. I'm 1 inch, one step, one idea away from turning onto the boulevard of beauty in my own life. Say it, in my own life. So it's been often said, the line which separates winning from losing is as fine as a razor's edge. Ruh-roh. And it is. I am talking about winning in a big way in all areas of your life. W. Somerset Maugham wrote a book entitled The Razor's Edge. And in 1946, Darrell F. Zanuck spent $4 million producing a movie of the same title. Both of these, where am I at? Both of these great men, author and movie maker alike, knew there wasn't a big difference among people. There was only a big difference in the things that they accomplished. Woo! I already see where this is going. That was the theme of the movie as well as the book. One person just about starts a project and the other person starts it. One individual almost completes a task, the other does complete it. One person sees an opportunity, the other acts on it. One student nearly passes the exam, the other does pass it. Although the difference in their marks may be only 1 percentage point of 100, it's the 1 point that makes all the difference. We were talking with Jay today, our CEO of our business, and he said, "Tell me what the difference is." He said 2 people joined on the same day to the same sponsor. He said one of them is making over $25,000 a month, while the other one is barely making $500 a month. What's the difference? They joined the same day to the same sponsor. One person's making over $25,000 a month, and one of them is barely making $500 a month. What's the difference? You said application. What else? What's the difference? What's the difference between the two? Daily activities, belief, execution. I'm going to say this word. I'm going to say this word. There you go, Tedra. You about right there. It's desire. It's desire. Where there is a will. No, the other one's working. See, that's the thing. They obviously are doing something. They're making a little up to $500 a month. So they're doing something. But the same 2 people joined at the same 2 times to the same person. And one is at almost $30,000 a month, and one is at barely $500 a month. It's desire. It is literally 2 people doing the same thing, having the same opportunity. Like all of us on here have the same amount of time in a day. One person's desire was to become a better person of themselves, a version of themselves. One person's desire was to make this work. One person's desire, and here's what I want people to see. What I really love about this season in my life is, well, let me tell you, Pastor Sean, because before people used to be able to say, well, she could do all that she do because she don't work all day long. What? She home all day. So because she home all day, I go to a job, I work a job. So Andrea, over the last few weeks, I've worked 6 days a week, every day. Outside of what I do, building my business, I've worked like whether it be outside the house, I'm inside the house, I'm virtually all day long. Today is the first day in weeks that I haven't done my other thing. And what I love about this season in my life is that just like everybody else, I've been working too. So now ain't nothing to think. There ain't a thing someone can tell me because here's the thing. And I'm talking about like I was working. I'm not talking about working like my little patch business. No, and it's not a little patch business. But I mean, I've been working, like working for people, working a whole nother business, working it every single day, working it. And so now nobody can tell me, well, that's because Nina, she home all day long. She could post all day long. No, I had to sit up at night and post. I had to make myself sit up to the point where some nights I'm falling asleep with the phone in my hands because I knew that I needed stuff in place because I had to work. Uh-oh. Okay, so what's the difference? Desire. Here's what I told somebody on the platform that I was on last week. Where there's a will, there is a way. And when there is no will, there is no way. So desire is what has Tosuna, the person that started the same day, joined to the same person. One person is at almost 30,000 a month and one person is barely at 500. You know why? Because one person has a desire and the other doesn't. Because we make happen whatever we want to make happen. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent, and those that use them seldom have success. You can go and Google that quote, so don't get mad at me. It's an actual quote. Excuses are the tools of the incompetent, and those that use them seldom have success. Excuses. We can make money and we can make excuses, but you can't do them both. You can't do it. If we continue to make excuses as to why we don't do stuff, guess what? I look at people who ain't even that busy and I be looking at their phones be on do not disturb. They did. And I'm just looking like, what are you do not disturbing about? What are you black? Like, what are you? What? And another, let me tell you. Oh, I'm on fire today, y'all, because I've been teaching. Listen to this. Listen to this. I was thinking to myself, I messaged some people last week and I was looking at their response time with me. And I said to myself, if this is the way they respond to me, I can see why they ain't making no money. Because if you're responding to me that way, then you're definitely responding to your clients that way or worse, or worse, or worse. And I try to tell people all the time when it comes to sales, cold French fries. Ain't nobody gonna eat them. Do y'all eat cold French fries? Once the French fries get cold, don't nobody want them, right? So what happens is in sales, and I'm gonna give y'all this for free, and then I promise I'm gonna go ahead to the next page. What happens in sales is this: people need multiple, and I'm gonna be teaching this in our social media training over the next couple of days. But people need multiple interactions of times that they see a thing before they actually want to buy, right? And so when they do reach out to you, it's an emotional decision. They're reaching out in the moment of an emotion. So when you don't respond in the moment that their emotion is allowing them to buy, you got to wait for their emotion to come back. Because when you don't respond right away, what happens is, okay, something else takes priority or precedence over what they were going to spend with you. That one was for free. Now, the annals of sports history are rich with dramatic illustrations of the razor's edge concept. At the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal, 8 finalists were competing in the 100-meter dash. But the runner who won the gold medal was only 1/10 of a second faster than the runner who finished in last place. In 1947, Armed, the first horse of the history of the United States racing to win over $1 million in prize money over the duration of his career, had earnings of $761,500. But The horse that finished second in earnings that same year, a horse that often lost races a mile long but only a nose, won only 75,000. So if you were to look at their if you were to look at their winnings alone, it would appear that Armed was 13 times better than the closest competition. However, than the closest competitor, I'm sorry. However, when you compare the times that were actually registered by those two horses in their races, you discover that he really wasn't even 4% superior. You may have grown up with the idea that some people have it and some people don't. How many of y'all feel like that? Well, that's because some people have it and some people don't. Let's be honest. How many people really feel like that? Like, well, you just like, well, you know what? That's supposed to happen for Nina. Come on. Y'all, nobody gonna be honest today? I know I grew up feeling like some people had it and some people don't. So you may have grown up with the idea that some people have, or that because some people are much better than others, that they enjoy much more of the abundance of life. I want you to understand right here and now that this idea is absolutely false. You're every bit as good, as powerful as anyone you see, know, or even hear about. Since the difference between them and you is only in the area of accomplishments, and since there is something that you can do that will vastly improve the results of you achieving presently, you have the potential to become even more successful than they are. You may already know how to do what others are doing, and if you don't, you can learn. And since your potential power is unlimited, you can do even greater things. See, the difference is that no matter how tired I am, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to go. I'm still going to go make the one connection. I'm still going to sit up and do the post. I'm still going to get up and make sure my posts are aligned. I'm still going to do it. And while everybody else is sitting back thinking, oh, well, it's just because, well, she just knows more people here. And well, guess what? I didn't. See, what's crazy is I've been here in Georgia only going into my 4th year. Only. So everybody else that live where they live and been living there has much more of an advantage than I do. When I started this business that I'm in currently right now, I had 72,000 followers on Facebook. 72. And my numbers kept dropping. I just kept seeing it dropping. And now I'm at 130,000. It's obvious that I've done something different in the last 5 months of my life, right? It's obvious that my reach and my impact and my influence is greater because I dared to do what most won't. Tired and all. Do you think I don't get tired? No, I'm so tired sometimes I don't even want to hear myself think. Tired? Do we really believe that we're going to get what we want not getting tired? You know what's so crazy is someone was talking to me last week. I don't even know why. Somebody must need to hear this. I was talking to somebody last week, Pastor Sean, and we were on a FaceTime for like about 3 minutes because that's all I had. And while we were on the FaceTime, she said, "Wow, you really are doing it." I said, "I'm grateful." I said, I'm grateful. I said, this is a lot. It is. I said, and you know what? I leaned into the phone and I said, let me shut my mouth. Because did we think we're going to get the millions and it not cost us something? Do we really think that we're going to become a diamond and we're not under pressure? See, we want to be the diamond, but we don't want to go through the crushing. And every piece of literature that we read about a diamond talks about the pressure that a diamond has to go through to be a diamond. And so I sat on a thing with her about 3 minutes maybe, and I said, let me shut up and get back here to work. I said, this ain't a lot. God gives us the capacity to handle what comes our way. Now, whether or not we get the chance to do it again will be determined by how we handle what comes our way. I shut my mouth and I got back to work because many of us don't understand that we prayed for the season that we're in. And then every time God tries us to see if we're ready for it, we say, nah, I can't do that. Nah, I'm tired. No, maybe next time. What if there isn't a next time? But you prayed for this season in your life to have access. You prayed for this season in your life to be connected. You prayed for this season in your life. And now that it's coming your way, you're like, nah, maybe next time. What? Okay. Well, good luck with that. Because you know what happens? There's a good book that we read. I know, Pastor Sean, you've read this too. The windows of heaven are open, they don't stay open, they swing open, and then a window goes back closed. And so while you sitting around trying to figure out, well, I don't know, well, why is it not happening for me? And we sang the Lord, whatever. We sang the song, whatever you doing in this season, please don't do it without me. And we sang the song. And then the moment the Lord opens the doors, oh, we tired. Uh-oh. So the book said, I'm going to go back to the book. I want you to understand right here, right now. It says that we have the power to do exceedingly and abundantly. That's what the book says. That it doesn't matter the gift that somebody else has, that we're able to do even more than them. The something that you must do to become more successful may not be what you think it is. Whatever it may be, rest assured you are quite capable of doing it. Always bear in mind, however, that because each person's world is just a little bit different, the something which you must do is not necessarily the same thing the person that you live with or work with must do. Nevertheless, there is no question that you will eventually find out what you must do. So make up your mind immediately that when you do figure out what the razor's edge is for you, that you will do it. Now, I know a lot of y'all married folk, if you're listening, this is really about to sting for you. Let me help y'all. Oh, Pastor Sean, you got my back. Whoa, you got my back, because I'm about, whoa. I didn't wait for my husband to go before I decided to go. Now, that has nothing to do with me not being a submissive wife. What I understood is that what God called me to do ain't what God called him to do. And so many of y'all sitting around waiting for your husband. Well, let me see what he gonna. No, go. You go. And what happened is God called him up. He called him up in the midst of me in my go. You waiting for him to go, and God is saying, you go. What are you waiting for? So a lot of things, Pastor Sean, I went to by myself. I wasn't waiting on Paul. Because I understood that I needed to be in the rooms. I needed to be in the environment. And then when it was time, then Paul came along. That was for free. Some of y'all ain't got what you want because you waiting on him. And maybe that ain't what God called him to. Or you're waiting on her. And maybe that ain't what God called her to. Maybe you need to go. And I'm not saying be dismissive in your marriage. That is not what I'm saying. Because I am not dismissive and never was dismissive to my husband. Pastor Sean will tell you. Right? I honored my husband. But what God put on you, he put it on you. And instead of you waiting for it to hop on him, it may never hop on him. And perhaps the reason why you missed the boat is because you waiting on God to do something in him that God ain't called him to. Uh-oh. So anyway, the something that you must do to become more successful may not be what you think it is. Move. Make up in your mind immediately that when you do figure it out what the razor's edge is, that fine line between winning and losing is for you, that you will do it. Some of you could have won by now, but you're standing right there at the line like, oh, let me wait. Let me see what they gonna do. What are we even talking about right now? So Heinz Dawes story, I don't even know, Heinz Dawes story. He says, as I was writing this chapter, a very dear friend of mine, Heinz Dawes, telephoned to thank me for an idea that I had given him. Before I let you in on what the idea was, permit me to give you some background information. Heinz works for a large insurance company in Toronto, and every October, his company holds a contest, which is known as President's Month. All right. All of the salespeople in the company gear themselves up for this contest, and they each perform at their peak level of productivity. Their reward, if they win the contest, is both fame, and fortune. The company always recognizes its proven leaders. As he does every year, Heinz had an exceptional President's Month, but in keeping with the practice of previous years, he was planning to relax a bit in November or at least go back to what he considered to be normal production. As I was talking to him one afternoon, I noticed that his usual high degree of enthusiasm had leveled off considerably. I knew something was amiss, so I asked him what was bothering him. He explained he was experiencing a big letdown now that his big month had come to an end. In an attempt to raise Heinz's spirit, I asked him, Heinz, what would you do with the extra commission you would earn if you were to repeat your October performance in November? He had earned 3 times his usual monthly income in October. Seeing the true meaning behind my question, Heinz's face brightened considerably, and a broad smile appeared across his face. Then I added, we both know you are quite capable of repeating your October performance in November. There is absolutely no question about that. And by this time, Heinz had become thoroughly convinced, not only that he was capable of repeating his performance, but that he definitely would repeat it. With his customary confidence and vigor fully restored, he said, all right, Bob, I'm going to do it. The Razor's Edge. He did it. Heinz beat his own October record in November. Think of the difference this will make in his annual income, not to mention his standing in the company. You know that he will duplicate his performance next November. The something for Heinz turned out to be nothing more sophisticated than deciding to do the same thing in November that he had already done in October. Desire. Y'all see what I said, right? I said, what is the difference between somebody that is at over 30,000 a month and somebody that's barely at 500 a month? They started at the same day, joined with the same person. Desire. Many of you are not winning the way you say you want to win because you've yet to decide. Everything else takes precedence in your life. The things that are taking precedence in your life are bringing you no money, no eternal value, no growth, no nothing. So you always busy doing what? Doing what? When this says all he did was simply decide. That's what it says. Nothing more sophisticated. It says anyone could have figured that out. And you're right, they could have. But there are a few thousand people selling for the same company that Heinz sells for. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts there weren't 5 others who did it. So all of these people competed for October because there was an award attached to it. Why couldn't they do the same thing without the reward, without the prize, without the incentive? Why couldn't they say, well, I'm going to work like this every month so that I can change my life? Vince Lombardi, the late coach of the outstanding Green Bay Packers, described the Razor's Edge concept in football very well when he said, most games are won or lost in the last 2 minutes of the first and second half. You know why? Why do more people get more work done the day before they leave for vacation? Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Why do we get more done the last 2 days before or the last day or when somebody get ready to pick something up, when we got to clean something up? Why? This says that the game is won. Any sports fans on here with me? The game is won. He says the game is won or lost in the last 2 minutes of the first and second half. But what Lombardi is best remembered for with respect to football's Razor's Edge is the second effort concept, which he introduced for the edification of his players. This concept simply meant that when a player was initially stopped by the opposing team, he would always surge forward a second time with the added thrust of a second effort. Consider the tremendous difference you would create in your own life if you were to adopt a similar mental attitude. If you are a salesperson who is currently selling only 3 units a week, what would the consequences be if you were to decide to make 1 additional sale per week through a conscious application of the second effort concept. On a weekly basis, it might not appear to be a major breakthrough. However, viewed over the time frame of an entire career, it would amount to well over 2,000 extra sales. From a monetary standpoint, you would receive an extra 10 years of income over the span of a 40-year career. Yes, that one sale would be the razor's edge difference that could catapult you into the big leagues in your chosen career. That one extra sale a week equals out to 10 years of income. But most of us do what's comfortable. So I said to myself, in my business, this is the last week of business for the patch business that I'm in. And so because it's the last week of business, I know that I have to be 100% zoned in to this business. So I don't have a bunch of speaking engagements this week and I'm not out of town because I need to be dialed in on every training call. I don't need to be sitting out all night long. I already told my daughter, let me tell you what I already told her, which is why I spent a lot of time with her yesterday. I can't go skating with you Tuesday night. I can't go skating with you Friday night. It's closeout. So you see, the razor's edge for somebody is going to be that they pay attention to their business this week. The razor's edge is going to be that I'm going to be in front of my computer making it happen, and I'm going to get extra sales. Because for me, I said this week I have to double what I've been doing. Double it. Because I want to see an explosion happen in my business this week. So the way I post, now I got to double that. I got to double down because I want to see a massive explosion happen in my business. Does that make sense for anybody? I want to see something more. So when we want to see something more happen, we can't talk about it. It can't just come out of our mouths. No, it has to be what we physically do. Behind the scenes, nobody really knows, maybe 2 or 3 people, how y'all don't know what kind of work I'm doing behind the scenes, how many Zoom calls I'm doing. You don't know because all you know is you see my stuff just popping up. But you don't know that all day and all night I'm on Zoom calls, launching people that y'all don't even know are here. So what I decided to do was put my head down and run through the tape and end this month doing more than what I did at the end of last month because I want to see something exponential happen in my business. I literally walked into the room, the other room with my husband, and I said, we're going to have a $50,000 month this month. I said, we're going to close a $50,000 month this month. Watch me work. Watch me work. Watch me work. So Milt Campbell's, where we at? 636. I'm going to read this next little section and then we're going to end for the day. Milt Campbell's triumph. One individual who discovered the razor's edge difference for himself is Milton Campbell. Milt went to the Olympic Games in 1952 to compete in the decathlon event. He performed with distinction, finishing in second place in the world and brought home an Olympic silver medal. However, Milt's ambition has always been to win the gold medal. When he returned home, he gave it that old second effort and he started his training program all over again. So he won the silver medal, came home, and started training all over again. Somebody caught that, and somebody let that fly right by. He didn't come home and celebrate. He came home and said, oh, okay, I won silver. What he did was he put his trophies on a shelf like I did. All my trophies, this is my trophy wall, right? And put the trophy there, and he said, oh, okay, let me get back into training as if. Oh, my goodness. Okay, anyway, somebody will catch it. It says, however, Milt's ambition has always been to win the gold. For the next 4 years, Milt Campbell dedicated himself single-mindedly to a training schedule that would culminate with his winning the gold medal at the 1956 Olympic Games. 4 years of training. 4 years. It says, in the aftermath of that particular achievement, I had the pleasure of speaking with Milt on numerous occasions. He often confided to me that many of the athletes against whom he competed in high school were far superior to him. But at some point, they had decided to abandon a sports career. For Milt, the razor's edge difference was that he kept training. And the result is the day that they pinned the gold medal on Milt, he was recognized as the best athlete in the entire world. One of the most powerful illustrations of that fine line that separates winning from losing was revealed in the filming of The Razor's Edge. The cast for the movie was composed of 8 principal actors and 8 stand-ins. That is to say, that each principal had a stand-in to do the hard, grueling, and tiresome work for him, while the stars did the rest. After the film had been completed, Life magazine published a story in which the picture of the 8 principals were exhibited on one page and the 8 stand-ins were shown on the opposite page. The stand-ins for the star of the film, Tyrone Power, was a man named Thomas Noonan. Noonan was a close associate of Powers, and they had even attended the same high school at the same time. Both men were about the same size, they were equal in intelligence, they dressed almost identically, and they resembled one another very closely. Even in their physical appearance, in fact, they were as close as resemblance as possible between each principal and his or her stand-in. But in one way and in one way only, the principals and their stand-ins were completely dissimilar. The combined salaries received by the 8 principals for the picture amounted to what was at the time a staggering 489,000. The combined salaries for the 8 stand-ins, on the other hand, amounted to a paltry $6,534. The principals may only have been slightly more talented than their understudies, but the monetary compensation they received was 75 times greater. As you become increasingly aware of the razor's edge concept, you will be astounded by the number of such examples you encounter every day. Just consider how much kindlier you feel towards a retail store where the cashier smiles, thanks you for your business, and asks you to come back soon, compared to the one where you're greeted with a stern, well, are you going to buy something or not? Approximately 1 year ago, a family attended one of my seminars in Toronto. They were truly a beautiful family, but they had a serious problem, and they asked me if I could help them solve it. They were the owners of an automobile repair shop. Zara. Zara. All right. They were the owners of an automobile repair shop. Their business had gone sour, so sour, in fact, that they were seriously contemplating closing their doors and going to work for someone else. In an attempt to assist them, I visited them on the premises of their shop and I asked them a serious question. I sat back and listened very carefully to their answers, and it wasn't long before I ascertained that whenever I asked a question having to do with their ability as mechanics, they answered with great enthusiasm, overflowing with confidence. They soon had me convinced that not only were they very skillful mechanics, but exceptionally hard workers as well. On the other hand, I had also discerned that whenever I asked them a question touching upon the public relations side of their business, they exhibited no enthusiasm whatsoever. In fact, an aura of pessimism and despondency came over them. It was fairly obvious to me that the only problem this family really had was dealing with their own mental attitudes. Uh-oh. Once I identified the nature of the problem, I was able to suggest corrective action. I told them that they must begin to visualize their shop full of cars that needed to be repaired. I also suggested that every time they visualize themselves doing work on their car, that they should also visualize themselves vacuuming the inside of the car, washing the outside, and making sure the windows were spotless. I pointed out to them that because most people don't understand very much about the mechanical aspects of a car, the only thing that they would notice was how it looked. Since almost everyone feels better driving a car that looks good, those little extra touches would soon start paying great dividends for them. Approximately 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from one of the family members, and she told me that none of them quite understood how something so basic could make such a tremendous difference. Nevertheless, they had become so busy in the next 2 weeks that I had visited them, and their only problem now was completing all of the work which they had attracted to themselves. The razor's edge difference that changed their business from a loser into a winner turned out to be nothing more dramatic than a hospitable attitude and a few additional touches on every automobile. Was it worth it? Just as the Jacobs family just ask the Jacobs family of Toronto. Most educators will admit, with some coaxing, that the average individual reads at only about a sixth or seventh grade level. The reason for this is that they were taught to read by the time that we reached grade 6 or 7, and we never bothered to improve our reading skills beyond that point. What is true about reading is also true about most of the other skills that we acquire in life. Once people have become proficient in the basics in any particular field, they usually choose to stop learning. So from that point forward, they cease to improve. Oh, somebody ought to be like, ouch. They cease to improve. Since this is true of most people, it follows that only a small minority of people will go on to become acknowledged experts in their chosen vocations. These are the people who can demand and who will receive the lion's share of the income in their field. Just reflect upon the vast difference in the incomes of the actors of the razor's edge. Yikes, yikes, and more yikes. Let me see how long this one is. Okay, I think we can finish this. It says, taking this information into account, consider the job that you are doing presently and ask yourself the following questions. How good am I at doing it? And how much better could I be? That's the one. How much better could we all be? Could we all get better? Yes. Yes. Every single one of us. How are you sending your packages off to people? Do they make people want to shop with you again? Are you giving a little extra? Are you complaining about your clients? I don't care if it's even to vent to somebody else. Keep complaining. Maybe God will say, oh, I'll take them from you then. Oh, they ask too many questions. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll give them to somebody that's willing to answer the questions. How do we react? How do we respond? How good am I at doing it? Could I get better? How much better could I get? Realize that if you would study your chosen field for 1 hour per day, in 5 years' time, you would have studied for 45, studied for 45 40-hour weeks. I was listening to our CEO train, and he said it's amazing how people want to make money but don't want to study sales. It's amazing. I was on a training last week that I was speaking on a conference, and they started asking a lot of questions. And the main thing was that everybody kept saying, I don't like selling. I don't like selling. Well, I don't like selling. How many of you on here right now don't like selling? Let me see the answer in the comments. Let me see. Let me see. I want to see how many people will be honest enough to say, I don't like selling. Let me see. I don't see any answers. Let me see. Sometimes. Let me go. It's bittersweet. Let me go. Come on. Keep coming. Let me see. I just want to be better. Zoom user. Yes. Selling. You don't like selling. Okay, so here's the deal. Selling and speaking are the highest paid jobs that you could ever do in the world. If you are in sales, or if you're in network marketing, or whatever the case may be, and you don't like selling, how do you expect to make more money and you don't want to sell? Because in order to make more money, it means that you have to sell more. And when you understand that all of life is sales, you're either selling or being sold to. All of life is sales. So I don't like sales. Well, I don't like talking to people. Well, the people are the people that you need to buy from you so that you can sell more. So basically, if your attitude, I don't care what we say out of our mouths right now, if your attitude really is that I don't like sales, guess what? You're repelling sales. It's really that simple. When we're selling ourselves every day, we're either saying, don't talk to me, or hey, how you doing? When people look at us, and I'll give you the perfect example. We were out to dinner, Me and about five other females. We were in Philadelphia at the time, and we were out to dinner. And I'm a big introvert, but I know when to not be an introvert. I know that when I'm out, I can't be an introvert. Okay. Now, networking events, I literally have to go there and I have to say, whoo, outside and breathe, and then tell myself I gotta go in here and talk to these people because I am an introvert. Okay, y'all? So we're at the table and I'm lively. And a few of my friends are there. I'm lively. One of my friends is sitting at the table like this. And a group of gentlemen, Pastor Sean, came over to the table and they began to have a conversation with us. I was sitting at the top of the table and we were all, it was six of us, three on one side, three on another. And the young lady who was sitting there like this, quickly, one of the gentlemen, maybe even two of them, said, "She the mean one, huh?" What I'm saying is, her body, she didn't say a word, but her body spoke a language that her mouth didn't. Exactly, surely. So selling is only sharing information. And so when you're looking and you're wondering why two people could be standing next to each other, and one person and the people that are maybe there's a group of people will always be drawn to one over the other, it's the aura you're giving off. You're either saying, talk to me, I'm friendly, or you're saying, don't talk to me. Some of you need to look in the mirror and look at how sometimes you just look mean. And it's crazy because I know some people that are really not mean. But to look at you, you look mean. No one's going to talk to you if you don't look like you're inviting. You don't have to look like a Barbie doll, but you have to be kind or look like you're warm or friendly for somebody to want to say something to you. This is saying, literally, are you even going to study what you say your craft is? If you want to make more money, do you ever go to you shouldn't have to be told to go to YouTube to go look up a video on sales. You shouldn't be told to go look up a video to find out how to communicate better. No, if you want to make more money, clearly you got to say, well, how good am I at doing this? How much better could I get? In the chosen field that you're in, do you spend any time studying your craft? I know I do. A lot. Right? So, moreover, since you would only be studying for 1 hour at any given time, you would be able to give the material your undivided attention. 1 hour, y'all. So that it would actually be the equivalent of a full year of concentrated study. So, although this amounts to only 1 hour of study per day, if you were to follow this schedule in a relatively short span of time, you would stand among your peers like a giraffe in a herd of field mice. So, why does my last 10 years of my life look like I have done like this and catapulted way above all of my peers? Because I have. Because I literally took this real serious that the world was changing and it was time for us to change with it. I started to study social media. I started to study sales. I started to study speaking. I started to go to every event, tired or not. I started to make sure that I was around. And now people know who I am because I took that 10 years of my life and I grinded it out. So what I got in equivalence over the last 10 years was like I got a doctorate degree. Now I've got a doctorate degree. I am self-taught. I got a doctorate degree. So when you think about it, you will soon understand that there isn't any competition at all because there are so few people in the race that even the losers are winners. There are so few people that actually want to excel. People think they turn 50 and that is it. Let me tell y'all something. There's some 70-year-old mamas, grandmamas, great grandmamas all over TikTok and Instagram killing it right now. And for people to get 50 and think like, oh, I'm a chill now. What? No way. I am looking to evolve every single day. How do I get better? How do I learn a new skill set? Every single day. You need to do a tremendous amount of studying to gain the understanding that you require. Because again, the difference between knowledge and ignorance may be as fine as the razor's edge. Let's get down to the specifics again. I do a great deal of studying by listening to educational tapes. While I'm driving in my car, I'd like to suggest that you turn off your radio and your tape recorder. And when you get into your car, it can make a big difference for you as it has for me. People who drive 25,000 miles per year spend 34 hours a week sitting behind the wheel of their car. There is an excellent position to have They are in an excellent position to have a wealth of invaluable information deposited in their subconscious minds while they are engaged in the routine activity of driving. It is virtually impossible to keep exposing your mind to great ideas without having these ideas expressed into your physical world. Moreover, you probably need only one idea to make the difference in your life. Consider this illustration. By merely moving an index finger a fraction of an inch, a person can transform a cold piece of metal into a deadly weapon. By simply shouting the word fire, a person can turn a room full of happy people into a screaming, panic stricken mob. These negative examples illustrate how the razor's edge can cut both ways. Since the law of opposites is at work in every aspect of life, it follows that if you are not consciously striving to move across that fine line to improve the quality of your life, that you could be inadvertently moving in such a way that your position is starting to backslide. So this is saying that we have to be intentional about moving forward. Because if not, you think you're moving forward, but if you're sitting still, you're actually backsliding. Let me elaborate. A couple of weeks ago, I was doing a talk show on the radio. A lady phoned in. She was in a negative frame of mind because the reality of her life, as she perceived it, was far different from what she had dreamed it would be as a student. And at the time, she had dreamed of having an exciting career as a famous author. However, she felt that her plans had been ruined because she married shortly after graduation and now had two young children to contend with. The children were still quite young, and they were, as she described it, under my feet most of the day. She said that because of this circumstance, she was unable to go away by herself to write. This made her feel very resentful towards her family and towards her life in general. I suggested that it was not necessary to go away to write her book, even though some writers do go off to some South Sea island just to write. I assured her that they were in the minority. In fact, there are very few authors who devote all their time to writing or who even earn a major portion of their income from that activity. Therefore, I continued, there was nothing preventing her from writing the last at least one page per day. If she followed the schedule religiously in a year's time, she would have completed a good sized book, 365 pages, or two or three smaller ones. Just getting out of bed 1 hour earlier in the morning could be the razor's edge difference that would permit her to realize her dream. She would also have the benefit of having her family near her to provide moral support. And I'm going to stop right there. So, what can we think about now? Would be the thing that could be the razor's edge difference for us. Maybe you need to stay up later an hour or two. Maybe you need to get up earlier. Maybe you need to exercise. Maybe you need to pick the phone up. Maybe you need to execute. Maybe you need to decide what is it that you really, really, really want, right? And then know that after you decide those things, and I thank you, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. 9 was on camera today. Thank you all, ladies, for being on camera. And decide today that, you know what? I'm not doing this average thing anymore. Because whatever we do, where we can 10x where we are and not measure 10xing based on somebody else's activities, but 10xing our own activities, our entire lives would change. All right, so I can't open up for questions today because I want to go get ready for our next call that starts in 1 hour right back here on that line. We want to thank all of you for joining us today. It's so good to be back on book club with you all, and we will be back next Monday. I don't have any travel next Monday, I don't believe, right? I believe we're good. I believe we're good for next Monday. So listen, I'm so glad we had this time together. And next week, we want you to make sure that you're inviting someone else to come back. We're going to finish chapter 8 of Born Rich, which is the razor's edge. And we're almost finished this book. I think we'll finish this book probably looks like in November. All right. So make sure that you realize that God loves you and I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you could do about it. We pray that you would enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your week. Pay it forward. Do a kind deed to somebody, right? And make sure that you're spreading love wherever you go. Again, this is the end of our Read and Rain book club. Thank you to all of you who thought it not robbery to be here, and we'll see you next